I'm going to talk openly and crazily because I can do this. I can do this. I'm probably only going to leave this video up for about a day or so, once it gets a hit independent on its own. But I was just thinking about the whole David Hume issue, you know, about identity. It is interesting. I was watching that John Pressmore thing, and it was very interesting because when you get into this whole issue of identity, that is a tricky thing. It's tricky. You know, there is no, the observer observing things cannot really observe itself. Now, I think I kind of got into a lot of stuff with Jean-Paul Sartre and the whole thing about consciousness. We never really observe the self that is conscious of things. When I think I am aware of stuff, I'm aware of that glass over there. I'm aware of that this big stuffed squirrel. It's actually a chipmunk. But I'm aware of this. I can see it. I can look at it. I'm looking at it. Okay, I. But when I'm referring to I, as Jean-Paul Sartre might say, we might look at it like the I is really not so much consciousness, but the physical me. This body that I can look at in the mirror or that I can see in the camera. But there is something beyond just that physical me. There's the consciousness. Because I'm more than an object. When I'm referring to I, in a very real sense, we're really referring to the experiencer and experience. Without experience, there is no real I. My identity isn't just in my physical being. It's a part that sort of expands beyond that physical. It has to do with the consciousness of things, being aware of things, being conscious of something. The one who is aware of it. You can only sort of understand that in some sort of, as almost like a pure abstraction, but I'm not a concept. See, I'm not this abstract ideal. There is I, the one who's really experiencing it. See, I think that part of the issue is with language. Language gets in the way because we use a word to refer to something, but we sometimes get stuck on the word. We get stuck on the word I. What does that mean? I think that's a mystery. I think the identity is a mystery. It really is. And I don't think it can be explained scientifically. We know we are. We know that we have an identity. We know that we are this. But, and the other thing, too, I think about when people use the word identity. In everyday speech, we talk about identity. Somebody may ask, who are you? First thing we say is, well, I am, and then you say your name. I am Philip Lewis. That's one part of my identity. I am a man. I am black or African American, if I want to be politically correct about it. I am, and then you start physically describing yourself. I'm 6 feet tall. I weigh so many pounds. But these are all descriptions. This is not really the identity. What if, these are how we categorize ourselves. This is basically how we put classifications. But you're not a classification. I mean, that's not your identity. That's something for a sort of pragmatic issue. That's more of a practical for the world, for categorizing and organizing. And, we kind of organize and structure things. But you're not even an organized thing or a structured thing. But yet we organize and structure things. That's not what you are. You're not that. You're not that, any of that. The identity. People identify themselves by preferences, like a person's sexual preference. I am heterosexual. Someone else could say that they are, they might identify themselves as being gay. They could say something like, I am gay, or I am bisexual, or I am a lesbian. by your gender, I am a man, I am a woman, I am black, I am white, I am, your ethnicity, I am Mexican, I am American, I am English. But is that what you are? I think that what you are is not any of those things. And yet, when we use the word identity, and when someone asks us the question, the answer to the question, who are you? Or the question, what are you? You can come up with answers. You can actually come up with answers. I am a man. That's what I am. That's who I am. But the I that is you is something that doesn't have a color. When you think about it, your identity, your consciousness, has no physical qualities to it. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't have a taste. It doesn't have a smell. Your identity doesn't have a nationality. Your identity doesn't even have an age. We could even go so far as to say it doesn't even have a location. Location can only be in relation to a world. That's sort of like a relationship to something. But even relationship to the world is not your identity. I am, and we can say that, I am here. I am in Chicago. I am in my office. I am sitting in front of my computer. So the identity becomes a location, and it becomes all the physical attributes. So it becomes a temporal thing. I am in the 20th century. I am a temporal, a spatial. I am in this room. I am approximately 2.5 feet from my computer. Physical description, I am black. I'm a black man. I have brown skin, dark brown skin. These become the identity. And we see ourselves that way. We think of ourselves as the stuff that we are, the location that we're in, the time that we're in. And yet none of that is what you are. You are, in a funny way, it may sound like a mysticism issue, but it's not. I'm not really trying to be mystical. But you are timeless, ageless, and basically without location. But yet you are. You are. And I was thinking about some stuff that Jean-Paul Sartre kind of got into. Like, if you touch something that's hot and you feel pain, you say, I feel pain. But the you that really is you doesn't feel pain. You're experiencing what you actually are sort of a witness, so to speak, to the pain. You're witnessing pain. Or you're witnessing pleasure. So it's kind of an interesting thought. Very interesting thought. Something to think about, something to look at. It's a mystery. I think that's the thing. So, and we also think about this issue about God. That's a mystery too. Even if you don't believe in God, you have to kind of think about what would a person mean by God. It's a relationship. I think it's purely a relationship. I don't think it's even so much an entity, because there is the I, or the self, and then there's God, the creator of you, so to speak, the authority giver, the giver of authority. You have the authority, or God has the authority, and any authority you have is given to you by God. God gives you permission or restricts you or whatever. But if you don't believe in God, and that kind of gets us into some interesting philosophical things. Where does your authority come from? I'm not making an argument one way or the other about God. I actually like that stuff to be up in the air. A lot of people use God as authority. I'm doing this because God told me to. It reminds me of the name of a movie. There was a movie called God Told